Are you ready?
Let's do it.
Are you ready?
It's live.
Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready?
All right, welcome back to Live Talk. I am your host, Author Jeremiah, alongside my two co-hosts, Minister Samuel, and the spiritual ambassador, Brother Ezekiel. Now, before we go to anything, let's go to our general statement and disclaimer.
General statement. Live Talk is proudly powered by TBS Goodwill, Builders of the Highway Foundation, and Men of Purpose. Together, we're bringing about awareness to the everyday challenges facing individuals, communities, and our nation. We tell our stories, listen to yours, and always respect different perspectives. Want to share your voice? Email us at livetalkoril@gmail.com to be a guest, or if you would like to contribute to our mission, purpose, go to livetalkoril.com to give a donation. Disclaimer. Information provided during this event and others to come does not constitute the official opinion of Live Talk or its affiliate entities. It is strongly recommended that viewers seek independent expert advice regarding any topics discussed, as legal requirements differ significantly across jurisdictions and are subject to frequent changes. If you have questions or concerns, you can always email us at livetalkoril@gmail.com, or you can DM us on Facebook and or Instagram at Live Talk Orlando.
All right, so welcome back. We have to get that out of the way. So my brothers, how are you doing today, Minister?
Hey, doing wonderful. Always great to be here on Saturday afternoon. Hey, when the sun is shining, all a part of being brought up in with.
Yes, sir, indeed. And my brother, Ezekiel.
Magnificent. All is well in the land, just getting golden day by day.
I say I'm living in eternal bliss, and I hope that my family is just as wonderful as we are today. And we're just going to give you just a rundown of the show today. First, we have the minister word of today. And then right after that, we'll go to a short commercial break. And then we'll come back with our main topic of today, which is redefining wealth, liberation beyond materialism. And then we'll go to another short commercial break. And then we'll come back and we're going to talk about something that's close connected to our community, something that you really want to stay tuned for. And that's Kwanzaa and the principles of Kwanzaa. And then after that, we'll close with a motivational reading a quote from the host. So with no further ado, Minister, what is the word of today?
Right, we're going to follow suit, and our word of today is going to be liberation.
Right.
Liberation, by definition, is the action setting someone free from imprisonment. Liberation is a movement seeking equal rights and status for a group. Liberation is an occasion when something or someone is released or made free. Liberation is used to refer to activities connected with removing the disadvantaged experience by particular groups within a society. Liberation is the gaining of full social or economic opportunity for any particular group. And some synonyms are freedom, independence, sovereignty, and rescue. Liberation.
Liberation. All right, so we're going to get deep into that today, talking about liberation. And I want to thank you for that word of the day, Minister. And we're going to go to a commercial break. We'll be right back.
At NOY Store, we bring culture, style, and wellness all in one place. Explore our collection of cultural apparel designed to inspire and connect. From t-shirts to polos, boldly tell your story. Need guidance on your journey? Check out our books written to inspire and support your spiritual, personal, and community growth. And give your body the care it deserves with our health and wellness products like natural toothpaste, soothing body butters, and more. We're always adding new products to empower your life so you can live with purpose and style. Visit NOYstore.com today, where culture, wellness, and inspiration come together. Shop at NOYstore.com.
Hey, shalom and blessings, everyone. Author Jeremiah here. I am the author of The Spiritual Significance of a Name, Define Your Purpose. And I want to share something with you today. It's very important. As we go throughout life, we understand certain things to be challenging for us, right? But life can be a beautiful experience when we discover our purpose. Because then, and only then, do we discover that we have a true reason to live. Won't you go to the NOYstore.com and pick up a copy of my book today, The Spiritual Significance of a Name. That's the NOYstore.com. You'll thank me later. Until next time, peace and prosperity. All right. Welcome back. Welcome back to the show. And of course, we have a special guest joining us today, a renowned Miss Finance Pro who is very apt in the field of finance, who is going to help us break down some of this information today. So I'd like to say welcome to the show, Miss Finance Pro.
Thank you. Good afternoon, gentlemen. And it's always a pleasure. It's always a pleasure when I have the opportunity to join you on this show to talk everything finance and prosperity for us.
Well, we are so happy and thankful that you joined us today. You know, sometimes it is a little tough to get you. I wanted you to be in our last show. We talked about debt, dollars, and dreams. I know you couldn't join us at that time, but you're here today. We're going to change gears a little bit. We're going to be talking about freedom. Like our brother minister, he just went over liberation. So we're going to be talking about liberation when it comes to, you know, separating ourselves from the material possessions. And since you are our guest today, first and foremost, how are you doing, sister? Before I even go into that.
Blessed and definitely building wealth, which is important for us, right? We want to kind of close that wealth gap. I'm just excited to be a part of today's conversation, excited to just speak on how we as a people can move forward, especially doing that collectively and just having, you know, I always like to bring back the how and the why, because I think that that's important for us to understand. How did we get into this situation? Why did we get into this situation that we're in as a people? That way, then the how becomes more clear as well.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. All right. So since you are our guest, I want to get right into it. I give you the first question today. And that question is, hold on, make sure I got the right question for you.
Okay.
How does materialism impact our mental health and community value?
Okay, this is a deep conversation that can almost realistically take the entire show, right? Collectively as a people, because in our communities, right, we lack. We're a community of those that lack. And it's due to being disenfranchised and disadvantaged. And somehow, and I want to say even with today's society, The media is somewhat responsible for how we think. Everything that gets pushed in front of us has to do with materialistic things. Therefore, what I wear, what people see, is a misperception of what wealth truly is. So materialism certainly affects us because for us as a people, it also allows or causes us sometimes to want to even compare ourselves to other people or people that we see on social media, thinking, oh, because this person is wearing a lot of jewelry, because this person is eating at a very expensive restaurant, because this person has, the most expensive vehicle, they are wealthy, not realizing that's just materialistic things. And all of it represents debt. Unfortunately, though, it does affect us as a people because then we have a misperception of what wealth really looks like and what wealth really is, because no one's really teaching and talking about wealth. We're not watching someone in their business. We're not watching someone, make major purchases. For some reason, that education is what we lack. But we see people spending money all the time, and somehow we equate that with success.
Oh, that's true. That's important. I don't know if you brothers want to kind of chime in on that.
Well, I'll just say a quick one. That one,
Yeah.
like especially because this time of the year, it's the holidays. People are giving, and our mental health, but it happens regular basis. You have those who take from others so that they can have a particular season when it's supposed to be about giving, and mentally there has to be something not connected when you can take or harm someone else and then in the very next birth think that giving to someone when you just took from someone who looks just like you.
Right. You get anything?
Yes, you got to be able to understand that materialism that's being pushed in front of us on a daily basis doesn't mean I'm successful because I may have particular materialism. The question is, how did I get it? How did I receive it? How did I acquire this particular materialism? And is it enhancing the quality of my life? Because we purchase certain products not to make our life better, but to have a particular social status. Because when somebody see me with a particular outfit on or this particular car, and they think I've arrived. That's the mindset we're trying to eradicate.
And I just wanted to go back to even something that I heard Samuel say as well, with it just being this time of year. Yes, this is probably where we see the worst of materialism and with the commercials. I remember being in business, and we were a part of this large franchise where we would allow people to borrow money during this time of the year, understanding that they were doing this to have, money to spend for the holidays. Literally, you're seeing a company take advantage of people that were already disadvantaged because borrowing this money came at extremely high interest rates, but people did not care because they wanted the money not to save, not to invest, but to spend on things, because suddenly it's, I'm not a good spouse, I'm not a good parent if I don't have presents, or things for my children. And it's a horrible example of what we're teaching our youth, that it's okay to, go into debt. It's okay to spend money that you don't have, all in the name of love. Therefore, making, a holiday that so many say is supposed to be about Christ, nothing Christ-like, right? Because it's about greed and gluttony.
Right. All right. So we're going to go to the next question here. This one I'm going to throw your way, Ezekiel. What does wealth look like when it's not tied to possession?
I think that's the greatest question that can be imposed upon any community, because how do you define wealth? And I know in our communities, again, we define wealth by the acquisition of materialism and the mass accumulation of materialism. The more clothes, the more jewelry, the more shoes, the more cars, the more things that I have shows that I'm wealthy. And it doesn't matter if she just said that I went into debt to get these things right here. I took out loans, I borrowed money just so that I could have this particular materialism that does not appreciate over time. It actually depreciates, because as we know, I can go spend $300-400 on a particular outfit that I'm only going to wear once or twice. And as it sits in my closet, it loses value because now the new fashion thing is hitting the market. So that outfit is no longer in style. So we have to understand what true wealth is. And true wealth is not the material possessions that you may acquire. It's the mentality that allows you to acquire that right there. True wealth is the wisdom, the knowledge that you have. Because with that right there, I can have nothing. But as long as I got the wisdom, I can produce a product. I can create an idea that would generate all the money in the world. I can have material possessions and then end up losing it because I have a foolish mentality. We see athletes, we see entertainers that get millions of dollars, and then within 3 to 4 years after retiring, they dead broke. We see this every day. They're broke. So they didn't have true wealth. They had temporary wealth. True wealth is, again, you will have the wisdom to be able to take that money and make it mass produce itself forever. So you can't tie material wealth to your possession. We know we are material people. We live in a material world, so we need materialism to a degree. But again, you need the wisdom that would allow you to acquire that with no sorrow with it. I can go into debt, and every time I get that bill, my head drop, I'm weeping, I'm stressed out. So I'm getting it with stress. And that's not what needs to be done, especially in this day and age with so many different methods of being able to get money. Technology has allowed us to be able to use our minds to create apps, to create different things to be able to get money. So the true wealth is your creativity. And that's based on the wisdom that you have installed inside of yourself. So you have to get the wisdom. Then the material possessions will come. Because if you create some type of business or some type of app or anything, people going to pay you for it. Now, when you paying me for it, now I got money. Now I can go buy the car. I can go buy the jewelry with no problem. I can pay it off whole right there. I ain't got to worry about being on some type of payment program for the next 5, 6, 7 years and stressing about it. So we have to understand true wealth has been and always will be the wisdom that you place inside of your mind.
Right. All right, Miss Finance Pro back on screens. Minister, want to chime in on that one?
And that, a good point, like with being tied to possessions, it's because as a culture and as a people, because we've been taught to spend rather than to produce, and then we get things that create debt rather than buying things that are assets, and then that becomes transaction. So it's like, unfortunately, when someone, like in our community, example, someone dies and they pass, they got a lot of things, it's okay, but how often going on social media, they're trying to get a
GoFundMe.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
GoFundMe to bury someone, finally expensive, because people were living, they might have had a really hard, they might have been closed, but nobody talked about, well, transitioning, historical time, But that shouldn't be a time like our people. I have seen them personally go into debt, even at death. And it's like, now you're the person is passed. Now the people living go into debt for someone that's passed because they want to have very elaborate services. Now, if you had the money set aside for that, that would be fine. But I've seen some of the wealthiest people spend the least amount of money on homegoing services. And they're wealthy. So it's just the mindset change of where you invest. Like, what is that wealth?
It's Finance Pro. You want to chime in on that?
Yes, I would love to. I think when it comes to just wealth and what wealth is, it's always going to have a lot of definitions, right? Depending on the person's perception. I know with me, my perception on what wealth is and what it looks like, it changed when I got the opportunity to be on the continent of Africa when I went to Ghana over the summer. Before that trip, to me, wealth looked like several appreciating assets, owning real estate, having several dollars in the account, and, just focusing on retirement, and just living an extremely comfortable life. And that was just always my goal on this is what wealth is going to look like. I'm going to always constantly work to build my wealth. And then, as I had the pleasure of visiting a lot of places. One of the places that just really touched my heart is when we got to do like a tour on the river. We were visiting someone's island. We were blessed to meet someone that actually owned an island. But among the island were several different villages, and we were just seeing all the boats because there was a particular, I'll just say holiday or an occasion. So the fishermen weren't out. But as we passed that community, and I'll discuss a little bit more of that later, but as we were passing the community and just learning how the people within their own community, within the village, how they care for each other, how they commune with each other. And I mean, you're seeing the, women collectively together, cooking, washing, and then just the children. Of course, children, that's always a soft spot for me anyway, but, just watching them play along the banks of the river. They were like playing with a ball. I think it was like soccer, but it was some little ones out there just running up and down as little children do. And then, they caught wind of us and they were, running to wave their beautiful little hands. And I just remember saying, these people own their time. They own their time. They're not conflicted the way we are with materialistic things. Yes, they work collectively as a village, but there is no punching in and punching out. Just life is so different. But I just remember telling myself, this is what wealth looks like for me now. It looks like controlling my time. It looks like being collective. It looks like, being a part of a community and wanting to build a strong community, for my family. And even those, within my own community collectively. So I was appreciative that I was able to reconsider what wealth is and not tie money into it at all.
No, and like you said, that's very important because we live in this society that really determines, wealth to us and define wealth for us. And we have to redefine that based off of what you mentioned, like happiness and having the ability to be around family and friends and just having all your parts. I mean, I think health is one of the things too about wealth. And we always say that, right? Yeah. Because you can't enjoy the material things if you're not healthy, right? So, we really do have to look at that from that standpoint. So I appreciate all the comments when it came to that. But we're going to move on to the next the next question here, and this one is going your way, Minister. What's the role of education in shifting these generational patterns?
Education. I would like to say first that education has to start at home, should start at home. And in our original culture, that was education taught at home. Changing the pattern, like living here now in this society, it really needs to be reinforced. For example, if your children are in a public school setting, you have to become active in what they teach. Going to the school board or those who are in charge of that curriculum. And like, they have these meetings, but if you don't show up at the meetings, things happen. And you say, well, all this stuff happened. How did this get changed? That's because other people show up, they voice their opinions about what they want. See, and it happens. We react. So it's like, if we were to be there and say, you know what, why aren't they teaching home economics? Why aren't they teaching simple things like balancing a checkbook or mailing a letter? It's simple things, but it's like, how many young people now actually, because we use email and everybody on social media, but if they had to go to the post office, do they actually know how to mail a letter? Can you actually balance a checkbook? And with education is so important because the better your education is, I like a quality education. Because you can get an education, but if it's not a good education, it's not worth the paper that it's written on. But in this society, if, for example, if you don't graduate high school, your income is good. But if you graduate high school, you can make more income. If you go to college, that sets you at a different level of income. You go to a trade or technical school to get a certificate or a degree, that's a different level of income. If you get a master's or a PhD, it puts you at a different level of income. You become an entrepreneur because it changes the income. And since we're talking about, see here, the wealth, but if you look at it, rather than just finances or money for greed, but it's tools, because the more education you have, more access you have to higher income. And with the higher income, for example, if I can pay for my child to go, they can focus on their education. But if this child has to be worried about finances to go to school, they're going to have stress in getting their education. Sports is a great thing now. Sports, you used to be a coach. It teaches team. It teaches camaraderie. It teaches you, like back when we were in sports, if you didn't get good grades, you didn't get on the field or you didn't get on the court. And as parents, it's okay, if your child is excelling, you can have them in sports, but you can't let that be the only focus. Like there are parents who they'll take them to the basketball game. Their daughters or their sons, they take them to football games. Yet, if you were to ask them they got 7 classes. Do you know the 7 classes? Do you know there's 7 teachers? But you know the game that they're supposed to be at next. Or you can know the stats and the statistics, but are you really conscious of what they're doing in their math and science? Are you putting the same amount of time investing into their holistic wealth? And so education plays a very important part. So we can't drop our kids off in an education system, which most of us agree is not working, and then allow that system to do everything for the child. Then when the child comes back to you, you're trying to figure out what's wrong with the child, because it takes that. It takes individual, it takes a community, and it's having a quality, proper education, not just an education.
Right. So education is a vital role to our success as a community. And I would get get you all's input. But I'm gonna move on because I know we're short on time, and I do want to cover some of the other questions in here, and we're gonna come back to that part anyway. But this next question is for you, Miss Finance Pro. Bring Miss Finance Pro back on. How can community initiatives help shift our values from consumption to creation? I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. You got me to stay on point.
Yeah, we're back on point.
But for this, I do want to kind of take us back to, history and let us be honest, because many communities of color historically were excluded from asset ownership, which is how consumption became our normal, right? When they didn't let us buy the houses or the land, or made it very hard for us to, establish our businesses, capital, things that usually help us to build wealth. As a result, consumption, what we consumed, was our substitute for what our success looked like. And just to give us a sense of dignity and pride, which is why, to me, we're the best dressed, right? Because it was for us to still have an ability to, have pride. But what we can do, or some initiatives that we can do as a community to kind of help us break the cycle, is teach more skill building versus spending. So I like, what Brother Samuel was talking about, and the importance of education. But sometimes I think when we think of just the term of education, we often only think of higher education. But let's think about even some basic education and what that looks like, even as a community, being problem solvers as well, making sure that we get involved and make sure our children and community are educated in the fields of, finance and understanding credit and understanding assets and what assets can do, especially over time. I think too, what we used to do and what we've done in the past, we kind of have to bring that back to the forefront, which is also collective ownership, right? So focusing on community banks or community food banks, just different community programs that help us build collectively. That way we're shifting from always wanting to consume, and we're encouraging on how we create, because creating is now building, and not just your wealth, but your legacy.
Right. All right, so we're going to move on. But as we definitely asking this question, if you want to chime back on what was just said, definitely you can. So we're going to move on. Yikiziki, this next question is for you. Can we redefine wealth in ways that prioritize family, time, and joy?
Most definitely. As we've been saying, that wealth is not the material possessions that we have. That's just a manifestation of the mindset that allowed us to be able to get that right there. So true wealth, as he stated earlier, is family. It's the time that you spend with that family. Because when you look at a situation when somebody does pass away, one of the biggest regrets that the living have is they didn't spend enough time with that person. So you want to be able to prioritize now family time. How do you go about creating that right there? Even though everybody has their own lifestyles, their own schedules, you still have to be able to carve out time where you get together. We most famously do it during the holidays. People take time out to get together to have family gatherings. But how can you do that on a monthly basis? Even if it's just a small gathering of certain family members or close friends, but the people that who make up your inner circle, people that make up your kingdom, you want to be able to give them time. And, spending time with that person should bring joy and happiness to you. In order to do that, you have to carve out time. You have to create a schedule to where you can spend time with these particular people. So it's like any type of business. They create a daily schedule so that they can mass produce their products. So you have to be able to create that schedule to be able to carve out the necessary time to be able to deal with the people that's in your circle. Just be a phone call, or email or a text just to let them know that, hey man, you ran across my mind. And those are the things that's most important, because when you strip away everything in this life, the most important element is family. That's it. Nothing else matters. You don't want, when you getting sick and you in a hospital, you ain't telling the doctor, yeah, bring my car up here, bring my clothes up here. You like, man, call my family, call my friends. You're not worried about the material possessions at that point right there. So that takes a back seat. So that lets you know that that's not the most valuable thing that you should be in pursuit of. So we got to redefine true wealth as family building. Because from that, you spring everything. If we're networking as a family, then we can pool our resources and we can buy the buildings. We can buy the land. So we can get the materialism, because when we pool our resources, we have more money together than we do as individuals. So not only are we spending money together, we're spending time together. So we study getting to know each other. Now, in the case of your demise, I ain't got to be having those regrets that I didn't spend enough time with you. We was together all the time. There's no problem.
Yes, sir. All right, so we're gonna move on to the next question here, and until we can get into the one that we all gonna be able to share some information on. The next one go to you, Minister. What's the role? No. I almost gave you the same question. Hey. How does spirituality and mental health intersect with our spending habits?
And I would say specifically in our community, we're very religious, or either spiritual term I prefer. A lot of that goes back to churches, where oftentimes when people are having an issue, they'll turn to the church if they need some financial assistance, taking the food assistance, crisis going on. They'll go to the church. That can be a good thing, but it can also on the other side be a negative thing, because you'll go there for short-term assistance, but it's not really a long-term solution. Like you're having a financial situation. Hey, the church might be able to help you out for the utility, something that's going on. That's great. That's community. But you got to look at the underlying situation of what was causing it. Because if you don't fix it, it's going to be bad. And then it can become a mental thing, like with counseling. I adjudicated with when they overeat, they have an issue, so they overeat, deal with it. And now whenever you're having a problem, you overeat. It can also be your financial and spiritual help. When you're having an issue, people will go to the church and they're looking for guidance. But if you have an underlying issue that you need to address, some churches do have financial counseling. They have spiritual counseling. But if you're not getting to the root of the issue, that's where it becomes kind of using it like a pacifier rather than a fix. Like if I can put something on a toothache, everybody can, if you've ever had a toothache, you know what I'm talking about. You can do something to temporarily fix it, but it's going to come back and it's going to get worse. You need to go to the dentist and deal with what's going on, root cause. Because if you can eliminate that, fix it. But if you're just glazing across the surface, and a lot of that when we talk about financial and mental, we've been taught tithe, and I say that, and tithing is a great thing, but we haven't been taught other part of tithing, which is reinvesting into your own financial and mental health. Because you get complacent and then it's okay, well, church is going to take care of it. Church takes care of some things, But the personal responsibility becomes back on us as individuals. How are you taking care of your family? What are you doing to take care of your mental health? Like, prayer is a wonderful thing. Prayer is communion with God. But then there's an action part that goes with it. Like, you can pray for 24 hours, but the utility company is not going to accept your prayer. It's just not. And prayer is a great thing, but you're going to need some finances to take care of that utility bill. And the church can cut you a check, take care of the utility bill. But that hasn't fixed the situation of, you got these new Jordans, yet you can't pay your utility bill. So I'm saying that's where they intersect, to where you have to, spirituality is a great thing, but you got to separate it from the actual practical application. What is it that's missing? Bible is a book to live by, but you actually have to live by those principles and not just read it in order to make it become alive, so it's actually something that benefits.
Nice breakdown. Love that breakdown. All right, so we're gonna get into the next part here, which we all get to kind of share. And as we've been sharing solutions anyway, like each one of you have shared some ways that, some steps that one could use to better their life, their situation, especially seeing wealth in another lens. So we always, like y'all have already alluded to, we always seen wealth as possession. We have never seen it in any other way. So hopefully family can see that well. But this next question here is for everyone. And I start Miss Finance Pro, bring Miss Finance Pro back on. I throw it your way first, Miss Finance Pro.
Sure.
But it's what practical steps can individuals take to start this change?
I think what we're doing today is a great practical step. Just collectively, educating ourselves with wealth and creating a sense of discipline, right? I oftentimes, I'm a lover of music. What I've noticed, and of course, this is guilty in almost every society, but in this society, particularly, what I see a lot in the music industry is that, a lot of these young little rappers, which is little baby this and baby that, they are always singing about something that's violent, something of sexuality, or drugs. It's something that's a constant, nonstop. Several artists are doing this. But what we can learn from that is the power of repetition, right? The power of repetition. Unfortunately, we see the power of that repetition. So we need to be repeated in the steps that we take when we're trying to build and educate ourselves, so that we can have that sense of ownership and true financial freedom. And it's not necessarily an individual task, it's what we can do as a community, because, spiritually, even, we know that, man is not meant to be alone. So as a community, we build. As a community, we rise.
All right. And we definitely gonna be talking about a little bit of that in our next part. Bring everybody back on the screen, brother. All right. So which one of y'all want to? I'm gonna go your way, Ezekiel.
Well,
same question.
The first steps is understanding what financial literacy means for your household. And that's looking at, how do you balance the books? How do you create a budget? And then you begin to teach your children the purpose of a budget. The purpose of finances, understanding that money is a means, it's a source to be able to acquire the essential tools that you need to live. And of course, everybody wants to live in what we deem creature comforts, but you got to be able to understand how money moves, how money works. This is not what's being taught to us. We need to understand that, we live in the information age. So you can get YouTube videos on finances. You can get books on finances and begin to carve out time daily or weekly with your children and invest in their financial education. Just as you alluded to earlier, that you'll spend time taking them to and from sports practice, sports games. But the sports industry is not guaranteed to give them wealth. Your child may not be good enough to go pro, or it may sustain some type of injury that will stop it from going pro. So what does it have to fall back on? So you need that financial understanding in today's world. Most of us have no idea how the stock market works. We don't know anything about true wealth. And this is why we're on the bottom of civilization and have the badge as the biggest consumers on the planet. So it starts at home with getting financial literacy time in your house.
I'm glad he talked about budgets. I'm gonna take it. Next one. One of my favorites is first wealth is your health. Capitalistic society, don't get tracked because your first wealth is your health. Not healthy physically, mentally, well as spiritually, like you're putting yourself in a deficit. Specifically us as a people, we are some of the unhealthiest in the country. And that costs us not just financially, but emotionally, mentally. It takes a horrible toll. So stop looking at just the materialistic part of being wealth. Understand that your individual being, if you're healthy, that's where you're.
And bring Miss Finance Pro back on the screen, because the next question go to her with.
Well, before that question, I'm sorry. I know we're kind of having a discussion. I really wanted to just chime in on that last one because, as my brother was saying, it starts at home. Sometimes when it comes to us learning about finances, things of credit, it's hard for us to say as a people of color, right? Because home don't know nothing about money. Home sometimes means that's where we got all those bad habits from. Home is where we witness the overspending, or, Mama or Grandma probably a week ago was at the casino, and now all we know is 3 days later, the lights are off and we're flickering candles. So it has to be community, and that's why I brought community in there. Years ago, with having the pleasure of teaching kids financials in the community centers and starting to kind of have those discussions with our youth at a very young age, right? So that way they can have a sense of understanding financing, understanding this is what it looks like to have a bill or to pay a bill. Why do we even have a bank account? What is the difference between a checking account and a savings account? So we just have to make sure that we are mindful that sometimes home looks different. So education then becomes important, and what resources do we have in the community so that we can help build that, and focusing there as well.
Yeah, we do have a generational curse when it comes to that. You bring all this back on, and I would just say it starts with knowing your history, understanding who you are, because like in the scriptures it say, learn not the ways of the heathen. See, the heathens have taught us to do some of the things that we're doing. If you go to the book of Jeremiah, chapter 10, verse 2-4, it says, learn not the ways of the heathen, because they go and cut a tree. Like right now, what we doing? We in the Christmas season. We cut a tree out the forest. You deck it with silver and gold, and said not to learn the ways of the heathen. So we have to know our history so that now we can start doing different things, so that we can do what we're talking about, build our communities, put more resources in our community. And we're going to be talking about this in the next part here when we talk about Kwanzaa. But it's our last question before we get into that part. How can listeners take personal accountability while working towards collective growth? It's Finance Pro. It's to you first.
I think with listeners, anytime we want change, there are steps that we have to take place, right, to invest in themselves. A lot of times we start the New Year's, for a lot of us, maybe we want to be healthier. So what are you going to do different today that you maybe didn't do yesterday? Well, maybe that consists of juicing or adding more fruits and veggies into your diet. So as a community, or even as an individual, what steps can you take? I would say focus on just even educating yourself and focus on what you are capable of, right? Because we always have to start somewhere. People often get overwhelmed when they think about, how do I save, or how do I even invest into the, stock market? It's okay to allow yourself, even if it's starting off with a few feeds or even one book. What I love about Amazon, you don't have to buy the books new. You can buy them used at a very inexpensive price. But invest in making sure you educate yourself and start realistically where you can. For some people, saving may look like at first just throwing change in a jar or just throwing a few dollars in a jar. But guess what? That change eventually adds up, and so do those dollars. Or even committing yourself to saying, okay, I'm going to buy one less coffee this week, or, on Wednesdays, I usually buy lunch. I'm not going to buy lunch. I'm going to bring in my lunch, and the same $10 I was going to spend on lunch, I'm now going to save. And then make another goal for yourself and continue to just make goals. Once I come up with my first $100 save, I'm automatically going to purchase my first stock and then buy another stock. Maybe then you have plenty of stocks and now you can buy property. But, take the smaller steps, because even small steps make big impact.
Take some of that advice. Appreciate that. And you brothers want to share that?
Yeah, and she brought on the head with some things I was going to say. Like, discipline yourself to see if, can I go one day and not spend any money? And like she mentioned, part of that is instead of going to Starbucks and getting a coffee, make your coffee at home that day. But you got to plan it.
Right.
So like you can't let your car run out of gas, but that means you might need to fill it up and prepare it. Or I was going to go buy lunch. Make the lunch at home. But it takes some preparation, and see just the basic things that you normally like take for granted. Don't spend any money that day, but you got to prepare for that. Then you can do that in 2 days. All of a sudden, you'll find yourself creating habits of saving and then building wealth. But it's practical things, but it takes discipline, because we have been taught to spend and not think. What you want to do is think before you spend.
Is he getting anything?
Oh, they've all about covered everything. Definitely just want to be able to have that discipline. That's the number one thing. What will motivate you? Begin to save money. Have a goal. Even if it's to buy materialism, you got to have a goal.
Yeah. Right. All right. Bring everybody back on the screen. All right. So unless you have anything else, Miss Finance Pro, because I give you the last word on this segment.
I just want to, again, just say thank you for having this discussion. Thank you for repeatedly having the discussions that are wrapped around, Black and brown communities and what we can do to build ourselves, forward and moving forward, even collectively as a people. We can't ever think that we're discussing this enough. This is something that we always have to have on repeat so that it can continue to be a discussion and it continues to have a movement that does allow us, because, just like ourselves individually, we can study. You can read the same book 3 times and get something different from it each time you read it. So we can keep having this same conversation 3 times, and every time it may be something different for those in the audience that's listening.
Right. All right. So we're going to switch gears. We're going to go to a commercial break, and we're going to come back. We're going to shift gears to Kwanzaa. We're going to talk a little bit about Kwanzaa. We'll come back.
What do all these people have in common besides a beautiful smile, healthy teeth, and gums? They all use Zadi toothpaste. Zadi toothpaste is made with all natural ingredients. Zadi toothpaste is fortified with moringa and baking soda. Zadi toothpaste is suds-free, making it an excellent choice for kids. All natural, fortified, and suds-free. Get yours today at noystore.com.
Because Scott & Associates always treats me like family, I refer my family to them. So when preparing for my taxes and I know exactly what to bring in coming in, it makes the process so much easier. Anyone should hire Scott & Associates because they are professional, respectful, and very knowledgeable. And with all of my heart, I can always count on them.
Shift gears a little bit because we've been talking about solutions when it comes to things that we can do. And one of those solutions, in my opinion, is Kwanzaa. Kwanzaa is, just in case, for those of you that may not know, Kwanzaa is a week-long cultural celebration observed from December 26th to January the 1st each year, honoring African heritage, community, and values. It was founded in 1966 by Dr. Karenga, a professor of African studies during the Civil Rights Movement. Dr. Karenga created Kwanzaa as a way to reconnect African Americans with their roots, foster unity, and celebrate the cultural richness of African traditions. Now, the name Kwanzaa comes from the Swahili phrase Matunda ya Kwanzaa, meaning first fruits. It reflects the traditions of African culture, African harvest festivals, where communities come together to give thanks and celebrate their bounty. So today, we will not get deep into the practice of Kwanzaa because our time is short. However, Kwanzaa has 7 principles that should govern how we conduct ourselves and interact with one another. So is everybody on? Bring everybody on the screen. So do anyone want to kind of share those principles? And then what I want to do is come back and ask what principle kind of stands out to you. Or should I can go ahead and share them. Okay. All right. So Kwanzaa has 7 principles. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Ngozi Saka. I believe that's the 7 principles. That's okay.
Well, thank you for that, because that's the Swahili name for the 7 principles that I am going to mention. The first one is Umoja. Your muja, which is means unity. The second one is Kuchichagalia, which is self-determination. The next one here is your Jama, yeah, collective work and responsibility. And then we have Ujama, which is cooperative economics. We have Nia, which is purpose. We have Kumba, which is creativity, and Amani, which is faith. So, with that being said, I want to go around the table and just ask the question, what principle stands out to you? Start with you, Minister.
I always like Dharma, which is cooperative economics, because it's like Kwanzaa starts on December 26th. So it's the cooperative economics is if we can put aside all of the spending that was done in that season, Kwanzaa is something that we're supposed to be around. And this is just the beginning of it. So that cooperative economics, I always like to say, consider, like, before you spend, seek to find Black business that you can support and spend your dollars on. And not just once, but see if you can put it in your budget to do it on a regular basis. Always be looking for, how can I spend my money with another Black business? Like, create your budget and seek to put a Black business or Black businesses on your budget. So then it becomes habit forming. And that's one of the ways that we create that cooperative economics, because then it becomes second nature.
And intentional about where your dollar goes.
Yes.
All right. All right. Is it you want to highlight which one of them kind of stands out to you?
It's actually two. For me, they're intertwined. It's purpose and self-determination. And a purpose is a goal that one sets for themselves to accomplish. So you have to have self-determination to be able to accomplish any goal that you set. And as we said earlier, that goal is predicated upon your self-discipline. So, you know, when I think about the financial goals I have, the educational goals I have, the relationship goals that I have, physical goals that I have, I know it takes a certain amount of self-discipline to get up every day and go to the gym once motivation is gone. Still got to have that determining factor of why you even started going in the first place to make you to continue to grow, even though your growth may not be linear at that time. So you have to have a purpose in life. We're all here inhaling oxygen. Why? What are we doing with this time that we are here? Am I here to be able to, be the manifestation of negative behavior or positive behavior? And it's, again, based on the value system that I have. Because even if I set a goal, what is the system that I have in place to be able to reach that goal? And the system always outlasts the goal. Because once I accomplish one goal, I'm going to always set another goal. But my system is always there. We live in a universe that has a solar system. So your body has numerous systems. You have a circulatory system, you have a limbic system, an endocrine system, and each one of these systems intertwine with each other and create synergism to make the organism, which is you, have the best life possible, the longest life possible. Anytime one of those systems shut down, you become what we call sick. So what is your system to be financially free? What is your system to have a great relationship? So those two principles of Kwanzaa is those that I love to embody on a daily basis.
Okay. And Miss Finance Pro.
Yes. I want to first say that I am so disappointed that the powers that be have not allowed, in my own opinion, Kwanzaa to be the wonderful and national, holiday it could be. Like, Kwanzaa does not truly, in my opinion, live up to its potential. And I just wish that African Americans, Black folks in particular, would take the opportunity to truly educate themselves. And, I know how people, Christmas got a chokehold on us like everybody else. But I really wish people would at least consider incorporating Kwanzaa into the holiday. And we know why the powers that be. Kwanzaa doesn't fit into the whole consumerism. But the values that it does teach and what it does offer is just invaluable. So, of course, I love all of the principles. My favorite in particular is Kumbha. And Kumbha is creativity, but Kumbha is what challenges us and allows us to think about, who we are as a person, right? Because with Kumbha, it's about leaving and building your community better than how you found it, right? So then it's what we leave behind. It's the name that we make for ourselves and what people remember you by. So I would say, it's Kumbha for me. Even though I do like Ujima and Ujama, because it's about us working together collectively, as a community, being the village keepers. But I just love that a man is being challenged to, leave a legacy behind, and not necessarily a legacy of, wealth or all the things you brought, but what you did to help others.
I mean, how can you not love all these principles?
Brother, that's up to you to pick. You pick one or what?
You know what? She picked mine. Kumbha.
I pick your Kumbha.
Listen, they done took away our creativity. Like right now, we don't create anything no more. Everything is based off of what they have put out there. We're not able to think like, how we used to be able to think, because they keep us so busy. They want us to work here. They want us to be at work at 9 o'clock in the morning. Then we stay there all day. We can't think. We can't, exercise our creativity anymore. And that's what makes us who we are. That develops our purpose. We were put here to create. we were put in the image of the Most High. And as the image of the Most High, we're supposed to create. And it's just not, trying to make children, because we talked about yes, manhood and all of this here, because a lot of us make children but don't understand the importance of taking care of them, being responsible behind them. But creativity is what they have taken away from us. And I think as we can get back to creativity, I think that'll change our whole condition. And the reason why they're not trying to make this mainstream is, to your point, like the consumerism, they want to focus on that. But you teach this to our community, and they really take this in. That changes the whole trajectory of the Black community.
Game changer.
It's a whole game changer. So we can talk about it. I was sharing with a brother the other day about, because he never heard, like he heard of it, but, it never dawned on him, the practice, because he asked me about Christmas. And I kind of shared that. I say, the reason, in my opinion, Kwanzaa stands out because of those 7 principles. I say our community is lacking those valuable 7 principles. Like, we're talking about unity. We're talking about self-determination, collective work and responsibility, cooperative economics, purpose, creativity, faith. I mean, they ain't leaving that part out now. We have faith in all the wrong things.
Yep.
But these principles are so powerful and so important. And if you haven't, like, in our last show last year, we went in depth with Kwanzaa. We went over all the principles, talked about how, how traditionally it's held and how it was conducted. If you want to, you're listening in, you can go to our last year show that we did. Otherwise, I'll probably be doing a playback on it as well. But definitely look up Kwanzaa. You want to know more about it. I tell you, if you know like I know, and you value family like I do, then this will be something that you would really put into place of some of the holidays that you currently celebrate because you know that you would know and understand the importance of this particular day. All right. With that being said, I think we're at where are we? Okay, so what we'll do at this time, if we don't have anything else on this here, somebody can share something quickly before we get ready to close out if you want to share anything.
I will just say, in the spirit of Kwanzaa, I think we've said it enough, but you can't ever say it too much. I personally encourage those listening in the audience today, do your research on Kwanzaa, do your research on the Ngozi Sabas. What I like is that there's different books and things out there. You know, as a family, it is an honor that when we wanted to start, participating and having Kwanzaa, it was the mindset of, how can we do this so we can kind of distract our little ones at the time away from Christmas. It's hard to compete against Santa Claus if you don't know with them babies. It's very hard because that's how they talk about it at them schools and things. And so to have young adult children that now look forward to Kwanzaa and to, even be told by my son, who was then 14 at the time, and said, I love Kwanzaa because we spend so much time just doing stuff as a family. And this individual particularly loves family game nights. And, so we incorporate those principles. And what I realized is that it does give us the ability to impact our lives, the lives of our children, and even our community. And that's what we want.
That's it. All right. Well, we come to that time where we get ready to close out and leave anything that you want to leave with the audience based off our total show today. Go start with your Ziggy.
Most definitely. Make sure that y'all invest in your financial literacy and in Kwanzaa. If not the rituals itself, extract the precepts that is based on and begin to apply and watch the transformation in your life.
What's finance, bro?
I mean, that was well said. That's a hard follow. I agree.
All right, Minister.
And with upcoming, in the words of Kwanzaa, they say, Abaragani, what's the news? Hey, the news is we need to start practicing these principles of Kwanzaa. Let's not get caught up into the commercialism. Let's put some spirituality and purpose back.
All right. I love that. And I leave us with this here. When we change what we value, we change what we build. So I say from the host, peace and prosperity, and from Loud Talk, we are out.
Thank you for watching Live Talk. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Live Talk Orlando. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Hit on the notification button so that you can see more videos like this. You want to join the show? Email us at livetalkorl@gmail.com. You can also follow the host on Facebook and Instagram at Arthur Jeremiah. And visit the website, thenoystore.com, to pick up your copy of The Spiritual Significance of a Name.